Good afternoon. You're listening to the official James Smith podcast. I am James Smith, CEO of WebTracks ID. WebTracks ID is a tracking software to identify your anonymous website visitors to help close more business. Now, today I want to talk about increasing your productivity. There's a couple things that I do, and I won't be able to explain everything that I do, but there's a couple things I do that make the biggest difference in my life in maintaining effective use of my time. So, first thing, every night as I end my day, I have a physical pad of paper. Now, I used to have an online website that I use to maintain tasks and project manage, but I've actually gone away from that to the notepad because for some reason having that physical page with me just seems to work better for me. It's easy to overtask online because it doesn't take up any space. So I'm limited by physical space on this notepad. So first thing I do every night is I review what I haven't done for that day, what didn't get done. Usually I have two different sections. At the top of the page, I have what's called the primary. And then below that, I have another section called secondary. Now, obviously, the primary are the tasks that have to be done that next day. Like there's no other question. Whatever happens has to be done. So what I usually do is I limit that section to 3 tasks. And if you were to add up the time that it takes for those 3 tasks, because, I always question, okay, great, you have 3 tasks. Are they 3 4-hour tasks? Or are they 3 5-minute tasks? So here's how I set it up. Usually those 3 tasks are equal to, at most, an hour apiece, but it's usually at the more 30 to 45 minute piece. And sometimes the tasks are actually a large, or is part of a piece of a larger project. So I will break that chunk down and say work X amount of time on this task and stop. So that's the first thing. Keep your tasks at 3 at most. Because if you're being effective, if you have a busy day, the remainder of that day, there's going to be a lot of fighting fires. There's going to be a lot of problems that come up, issues that you never could have anticipated, people having issues that need your help. There's just a lot that goes on during the day. But by having those 3 things written down that are your absolutes have to get done, and knowing that you got those tasks done during the day, that your day was effective, is extremely useful for motivation, but also knowing that you're making progress. Now, sometimes this doesn't happen, probably the majority of the time. The secondary tasks are the things that would need to get done probably the day after, or that week maybe. They're not as pressing, but they're going to be. So I write down, 3 to 5 at most, underneath the secondary. Now, in the rare cases that I actually complete the primary and I have time at the end of the day, then I'll jump into the secondary and I'll start to see what I can complete and check off there. So that's it. I have one notepad. By the way, if I ever run out of things or tasks that push me forward, I will take an hour to brainstorm on what the most effective task would be for me to get, walking down that path that I need to be able to move forward. So I will brainstorm. If there is not at least 3 items on this notepad, I will brainstorm until I come up with what I think would be most effective. And it's rare that that's the case because I generally have a direction and I know what steps that need to be taken, at least at the high level, to move forward. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm just fighting fires and I don't have time to think about it. Sometimes, there's just so much going on. It's hard to spend any mental energy towards it. But in summary, have a notepad, a physical notepad. Write down no more than 3 tasks that you absolutely have to get done that day. You can have a secondary kind of an overflow. Do it every single night so you know what's going to happen the next day. The second part is I have all of my meetings set in my calendar. So every night I physically pull up my phone clock and set a timer 15 minutes before the meeting is supposed to happen. So I'm always prepared and ready to jump on that phone call. So do those 2 things and you will be extremely productive. And it's going to make a big difference because it made a big difference for me. Until next time, have a productive day and a week.